it bugs me a little bit when people are saying, I don't have time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I'm like, there is time. You just
You
gotta.
were, you were on the grind. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Adam Nessum Show. I have another awesome guest with us today. We have Andrew Reid, who is the founder of MedGeeks, which helps PAs and NPs with board prep, and then also, which is pretty awesome, throughout their practice as well to make sure that they are staying at the top of their game. So thanks so much for coming on, Andrew.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell our listeners, for those that don't know you, I guess how you got started, like a little bit about your academic history, and then how you founded MedGeeks and what that's all about?
Yeah, definitely. So, my name's Andrew. I actually went to PA school back in 2010, so 10 years ago. Feel old. Funny enough, I had a physical last week, first physical in a few years, just never got around to it. The doctor, I'm older than my doctor, which was the first thing.
Wow. Oh man, that must have been a reality check.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right.
You look young though, so I don't know what you're talking about.
So I graduated from, I went to UC Davis, graduated from PA school, started in 2010, graduated in 2012. I kind of had my schooling a little bit different than most, in the sense that typically, you have your didactic and clinical year is kind of the mainframe for PA school. You got 1 year didactic followed by 1 year clinicals. We actually were thrown into clinicals right off the gate, right out of the bat. So 1 quarter into studying, we were seeing patients. We're put into a primary care site, and that was our site for the next 2 years. And so I was super lucky. Like, I lucked out on every single basis that I got put with a preceptor who was business oriented. So I started learning all the business applications back 2010, started to see how a clinic was ran, how insurance was done, how to manage their employees. And the goal actually was, he was actually grooming me to take over the clinic. And he was actually a PA. And so he found some loopholes as to how to actually own the clinic. We live in California, so we're not allowed to have majority of shareholders as far as clinics go.
But, for a clinic. But he was able to do that.
He was able to do it because he owned 49% of the clinic, and then the remaining 51% was spread across 4 different doctors. So he still
had majority. Got it. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And so, but he's not allowed to own more than 49. So that's kind of how he did it. And so, I mean, he was my mentor from the get, teaching me how. The biggest thing I learned, just to talk on medicine for a split second, was that, especially primary care, once most patients that come in they care, but they don't really care how much you know. They don't really care, all the jargon that you spit out. At the end of the day, they want to feel heard. They want to feel understood. They want to know you empathize. And you walking into a room with a certain energy and confidence, that gives them confidence that, all right, this person knows what he's doing. He's going to be able to help me. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll figure out the answer or refer me to the right person who does. And so I figured out early on that more important than your medical knowledge was your presence, your energy, how you walk in, how you introduce yourself, how you just speak to somebody. All those things matter. I've never had one complaint from a patient that they had to wait too long. Never had a complaint from a patient saying, I only saw him for 3 minutes, which is kind of the big thing. I spend an hour waiting and I see him for 3 minutes, because when I'm in the room, I make it feel like they're with me for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And so I learned that early on. I learned that from him, and he was so his presence was amazing. And so we dealt with insurance, non-insurance patients, and everything was referral based. It was amazing. So that was the original goal, was to kind of get groomed to take over this clinic. I graduated in 2012 and started practicing at the primary care side. It was also an OB-GYN clinic, so we had OB-GYNs coming in. And after a year into it, I got bored.
Mm-hmm.
I started realizing it was the same thing over and over again, in primary care. You're 4th year, right?
Yeah, so I'm in a gap year between my 3rd and 4th year. Right now I'm doing like a research year working on my company, the Pre-Med Consultants. And then I was also, right. I have to pay my dues in research so that I have the time to do other stuff as well. But, and then also one of the reasons I took the year was to try and figure out what specialty for sure I wanted to go into. So I'm kind of like between ortho, PM&R, emergency medicine.
Okay.
So we're figuring it out.
Got it. What do you have to decide? What's your timeline?
Well, I would have had to make the decision. That's one of the reasons I took the year. It'll probably be around February, March, where if I want to try to apply for like away rotations, you need to apply in whatever specialty you're going to go into. So that's like when you should really start thinking about it, but not until like June, July do I really have to know.
Okay. So you got 6 months or so.
Yeah. We're closing in on the gap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming close. Yeah. So with primary care, you do it every day. You realize it's a lot of the same kinds of things that come in. 80% is anxiety, depression, some kind of psychological component. 90% of things aren't really all that serious. The elderly come in because they want to, have more so wants to talk to somebody. And you got the 10% or so where, all right, these guys actually have a serious medical condition. We need to figure it out. We need to send a referral, work a patient up. But that little 10% of primary care wasn't enough to keep me interested. Doing physicals and child exams and vaccines, it just became very redundant.
Yeah.
And I got bored at that point. And so I was like, okay, what else can I do? And he was also kind of grooming me. So for a full year, also I was kind of getting this business mindset going. After a year in, I realized I do not want to have a private practice. There's so many logistical issues that go along with insurance, and it's a headache, especially if you're dealing with Medicare. If you go private, where you can do kind of some concierge practice, or you do cash only, maybe. But otherwise, you're dealing with insurance. It's such a headache. Coding. I was like, this is not what I want to do. And so I just I went online and I'm like, what can I do as a PA? And this was 2012, right when podcasts were kind of like starting to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And so the very first podcast I think I listened to was someone by the name Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income.
Yep, I know Pat Flynn. I don't know him personally, but I know the the podcast.
Yeah, so he was. I remember him. He was talking about he was doing some board prep for. I think he was going to be an architect, and he was doing board prep or help people pass. To become an architect,
whatever
or whatever
exam
the exam
it was.
is. Yeah. And so I was like, I could do the same thing because, to be quite frank, the way I studied for my board, the way I studied all my exams were using USMLE resources. We had really nothing of value when it came to PANCE, which is the board exam that we take. So
right.
all my prep resources were USMLE for step 1, step 2, step
interesting.
2, step 3. And so I was like, okay, well, and the whole class too, there's really no research. So I was like, all right, there's a need there. I feel like I can do it. I'm bored. I kind of have the knowledge already for that. So decided to throw up a blog and make everything for free at the beginning as I was kind of writing out my entire board prep. And I don't know how long it took, but I'll tell you this. I used to live with 3 roommates at the time. We all went to high school together, so we're buddies. And my schedule for 18 months was waking up at 4:35 in the morning, doing all of my website stuff before 7, 8 in the morning, driving to work, had an hour commute, worked for 8, 9 hours, came home, dinner, worked until midnight, woke up, and that was it. And then I would work in the clinic 6 days a week because I wanted to pick up Saturdays, and every other Sunday I would alternate as well, just to see patients, just to get the experience, just to get money, pay off the loans. And so it bugs me a little bit when people are saying, I don't have time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I'm like, there is time. You just gotta.
You were on the grind.
Yeah.
No, I get that too. Cause like I'll help some friends or other people if they want to start like a side hustle when they're in like a 9 to 5. And I'll be like, I promise you, if I can do it while in medical school, you can also do it.
Yeah. 9 to 5. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that was really the start. Just I threw up a blog, made everything free. I was pretty much modeling the Smart Passive Income deal. So threw up a podcast too. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Didn't know how to get traffic, but it was 10 years or 8 years ago. So it's a little easier. And that was, kind of the beginning of the end, I guess you could say.
And then when did you take the leap of, I mean, I think it's a good lesson too for listeners, like as passionate as most of us are about like going into medicine, being a doctor, PA nurse, whatever it is, I think also sometimes people get stuck in like the sunk cost fallacy of like, I can never now change my career path in life. And I think you're a good example of like, you found something that you were more passionate about and then went into it. So when did you make that jump?
So I took a little detour. I did this, I want to say 2015. I was still working. So I'm about 2-3 years in at this point, and I decided to have another great idea. And I was living with my roommates at the time, and I'm like, hey guys, I got the best idea ever. We're going to be so rich. And I decided
Were they helping you?
Yeah, we all went into this little business together, and we decided to start an alcohol delivery app. It's called Tipsy. So are you in New York? New York, right? So I think New York, you got Drizzly, which is pretty popular.
I think so, yeah.
So we did that for our market. And again, this was 5 years ago. We did it for a full year. That was tough. So found a developer, got him on our team. Yeah. We went to all the liquor stores around the area, went to LA, went to Hollywood, Santa Monica, hit up every liquor store, got contracts with them, said, yo, we're going to deliver all your alcohol. And because we didn't have an alcohol license, we couldn't necessarily sell the alcohol. So we had to partner with liquor stores.
Right. That makes sense.
So the orders would go directly to them. And because we were running the business and being the carriers, we would have to post at different locations to be able to get to the customers within the 30-minute time frame that we were promising. So I worked in Santa Ana, which is about 40 minutes from where I lived. I drove all the way out to Hollywood, which is about 50 minutes, an hour, straight from work. And I would just hang out waiting for a call, go to a liquor store, deliver the alcohol. And we did that for over a year.
Wow. How did that
definitely
do?
Not profitable. Not profitable. But even so, you look at all these apps, Uber is not profitable. Drizzly's not profitable. They just keep raising rounds every single year. There's another.
Are they still? Yeah, I don't know the numbers that well, but I mean, I know obviously their funding is amazing, which is then why they keep they're able to keep going. But
so I actually talked to a lawyer 2 weeks ago because I wanted to get a valuation for a company because I was going to sell some shares to somebody that's been in the company for a long time. That kind of helped me from one of my high school friends. And so I was going to give him
is that for Med Geeks?
This is for Med Geeks. Yeah. He was also doing Tipsy. I got all the homies. I was very persuasive and but funny enough, so in order to actually give him some shares, I need to get a valuation. So I spoke to a lawyer and he's like, oh, you're an internet-based business. Yeah, I am. And so we started asking these questions. The final question was, are you profitable? And I said, yeah. And he's like, wait, you're an internet-based business that is profitable. He was completely dumbfounded.
Really? Wow. That's crazy.
He's like, yeah, he's like, this is out of my expertise. Like normally I handle these internet-based companies like Uber, Lyft, like none of them are profitable. So we actually have to treat it like a real business and not just an inflated valuation.
Like what is your next round of funding going to get or whatever?
Right. Yeah. So they base it off customer and data acquisition. We actually have numbers and profit. So definitely not what he was used to. So
you're running like EBITDA and that's it.
So to me, that was like, oh shit. Okay. So I guess other people are doing things differently. But yeah, so circle back to Tipsy, did that. I'll tell you this, man, it was so much fun. We did so many parties and hung out with because we had to sell we got tipsy. We had to sell the life, right? Of the alcohol and the fun and the party. And, at the end of I decided let's shut it down. So whatever debt we had, it was only like $12,000 that we were actually in the hole after, like when it was all said and done. I just paid that, moved on with our lives. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to Med Geeks, which was called PA boards back in the day. Cause I only focused on physician assistants. And then, so I say 2016, 17, I kind of came back to doing Med Geeks. 16, that's it, 2016. And, that first year, like I was ready to quit work. Like I was making enough money back then to just go do this full time. But I stayed on a lot longer just because I really loved my mentor. Like I wanted to help him. He couldn't find quality people to come and see patients. High turnover. Patients didn't like the people. So I stayed on probably another 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, just to kind of help.
Right.
And I think late 2017 is kind of when that was like my final It was slow transition, full time to part time there to covering shifts when he needed.
Well, yeah, and then eventually,
and then I was out. I think late 2017, completely just all in.
how was the leap when you finally were just like running your own thing and that's all you were doing?
It was fine. Wasn't scary. Wasn't anything because I had already been doing it too for 5 years.
Yeah, you clearly already had like a proven track record. I more meant, what did it feel like? Very freeing, or at that point where your shift's not so often that it wasn't like that big of a difference?
I'll tell you, man, it was freeing. My mindset has shifted every single year since. I remember I had one conversation because I'd work on this too in between patients or like during my lunch hour. And so the guy I worked for like knew everything I was doing. And he's like, how much money do you think you'll be able to like get from this? And at that point I was doing, I don't know, probably 120K a year off my little side thing. And I was like, honestly, I'll probably cap out at 200K a year. Like, I don't see this going over 200.
Something tells me that is,
and then we hit 200, right? But that was my mindset back then. Like, this is as far as this will ever go, and that's that. And so it was freeing in the moment, but then every year, the more you do, the more you realize, like, oh shit, I could do more. Like, and then that just happens every single year.
It's definitely a difference when you're not trading your time for money. It's more like, I'm going to try and provide value, and the more value you put out, the more compensation that also comes with that.
Yeah. And for me, my motivation is being a parent. So I'm actually I was supposed to be married on October, but COVID. So we had to postpone the wedding. So we got our wedding coming up in June.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. But either way, whether the wedding goes through or not, we're going to start planning to have kids. And my biggest motivation is I want to be able to take my kids to the soccer game, music recitals, to plays. Yep. I don't want to say, shit, I got to go to work, or I got called in, or I want to be able to kind of have my own schedule and be able to dictate, all right, from 8 to 9 a.m., I'm taking my kids to school if I want to. Like, I want to have that. And that's my big motivation. That's why I've been working so hard.
No, I like that a lot. So switching over then to, maybe we'll get you a few clients just from this. What exactly are people getting when they sign up for Med Geeks?
Yeah, man. Like, this shit does not exist. Like, I'm so stoked whenever I talk about this. So the board prep exists. Like, that's out there. As far as the clinicians, so all right, let's break it up. So we got 3 programs. We have the people who are in PA and NP school. We provide kind of all the curriculum, medicine, pharm, go through EKGs, chest X-ray labs, suture, kind of the whole 9, procedures. And on top of that, we do live trainings every single week. And we have this community where we have 5 different clinicians on staff, where 7 days a week, people ask questions. Our average response time is about 5 minutes. A clinician, we have a couple docs on staff, whether it's a doctor or a PA, we're looking to interview a nurse practitioner to come on board also. 5 minutes average response time, which is unheard of, especially with COVID happening.
Is this in like the Facebook group or like
We used to do Facebook. We moved away from Facebook. We got a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, enough complaints from our clients because of the political atmosphere that was going on.
I know, yeah. I've noticed a lot of people are shifting groups off of Facebook for programs like this. So what do you use now?
Yeah, we signed up for Circle, which I think actually Pat Flynn, I don't even follow him anymore, but funny enough, I think he is kind of their spokesperson. But it's called Circle. They just got out of beta a few months ago, I believe. So there were kinks when we kind of got in there, but they're definitely working it out, and it's definitely got potential.
I'm looking it up. I'm asking selfishly because I use for all my students GroupMe, which has worked really great so far. Especially, I think like students are used to using GroupMe, so it works. And we could do the polls in there, people liking messages and whatnot. But I think at some point we might hit the GroupMe cap. So unless I can get them to allow like more people in a group, I at some point might have to move to a different platform for a community, like for that type of stuff.
Yeah. And this gives more flexibility too. They're a new startup, so they're really trying to, lay on the features and whatnot. So far it's worked out.
Cool. And then, okay, so you have that. So that's helping students that are already in PA school or NP school basically just crush it.
Yeah. And we're with them throughout their entire schooling. And then we have 2 programs after that. If you decide to become, go to family practice, we help you, or emergency medicine, urgent care, we help you there. And the big shift there is, when you're in school, you kind of learn from disease down. All right, let's talk pneumonia. You're taught pneumonia, and then you go with kind of like epidemiology, signs and symptoms, diagnostic workup, treatment plan. The problem is when you're in actual clinical practicing patients, nobody comes and says, hey, I have pneumonia, work me up. They say, hey, I have a cough, or I'm short of breath, or hey, I just, I don't feel right. I'm tired, got a fever. And so you get a symptom, and from there you have to create your differential, create your workup before ever having a definitive diagnosis and start your management plan. And so that's what we teach. We teach that shift, that mindset shift of, all right, you get this symptom. We're going to show you how to work it up clinically. Also, you'll notice there's a lot of classic presentations, which were classic maybe 50, 60 years ago, that aren't really the case in real life. So again, we teach kind of more practical, real world type of medical applications. And then the non-clinical stuff, insurance, how to document, how to not document and take it home with you after hours, which is a huge primary care problem. And then on top of that, we do office hours. So we actually allow one-on-one 30 minutes with our clinicians. And so we have a calendar that they can just kind of book. And then we also have the community as well. But there's some people who prefer not to share publicly and they want to just have that one-on-one interaction. They can schedule with one of our clinicians as well. Nice. Go through cases and whatnot.
I'm laughing because there's so many similarities to what you do and what we're doing at the Pre-Med Consultants.
Yeah.
What is the board prep part? Is that if you get the PA program, you're also getting the boards prep, or that's something on top of that?
No, that's part of that.
Awesome. So
we start them we try and target so that we get them right when they start school, and then we're with them throughout the entire 2 years, and then we can transition into family or emergency after that.
Genius. That's like, so literally, I don't know how familiar you are with what I do, but I used to like teach for one of the test prep companies. Then I started the Pre-Med Consultants. And one of the things I saw was there was no one helping pre-med students throughout the entire process. It was just when you get to the MCAT, now you buy a course, or when you are about to apply, you could buy like essay editing and stuff like that. But no one from like when you start school all the way through. So what we did is, like, just like you said, we're getting to students earlier, helping them so that they're already good students by the time that they're taking their MCAT or whatever it is. And then they also get the MCAT program included, the admissions help. And so they're getting kind of that 360 all-inclusive advising, kind of very similar to what you guys are doing.
Do you guys start freshman undergrad? Or do you go high school?
We do have a few high school seniors. That's where I'll draw the line. We have some people that are about to start college, and if they're going to get it then, like, I'm like, that's fine. You could sign up as a senior and start like seeing like the study strategies that we talk about. And also like if you need help picking your college or that type of stuff, we'll help with that as well. That's the youngest. So we'll have from 17, but then we also have students who will join as post-bac students, or they're complete career changers and now just have to start pre-med and like don't know like really where to get started. So we kind of run the spectrum.
How's the onboarding a 17 year? Because at 17, I figure most people don't have a credit card or anything. So it's the parent.
A lot of our, it from a sales perspective, a lot of it is we talk to the students, and then we're almost always also talking to the parents on like a second call or something like that. Or we try so hard to convince students. We're like, just have your parent on the call because we're going to end up answering all the same questions again. Yeah. And then most of the time they don't because they want to like do it on their own. But then it's like, all right, I have to go speak to my parents. So, yeah. But sometimes we have parents reach out to us because they're, taking initiative on their child's behalf. But then we also have like some students that are joining our program are in their late 20s, early 30s that are wanting to go back to medical school. So
got it. That makes sense. Nice, man.
Yeah. We actually do some pre-PA work as well because it's all like the same stuff.
We actually experimented with that a little bit last year. But I don't know. We got enough people in, but it wasn't bringing enough profit for us to sustain it.
It's hard to divide if you have something that's working, like.
Yeah. So we kind of shut it down.
That's something as like an entrepreneur too, that I've battled with, is like trying to go into too many things all at once. I rather focus on like what I'm doing and just make that the best possible product.
Yeah. I saw you were also doing, is it pre-dental too?
We do. Yeah. So the pre-dental one really exploded. So basically I had two people that I knew, that one's in dental school, one's in PA school, that are also have like a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit and already did advising and or tutoring. And I basically just showed them the roadmap for what I do for the pre-med consultants. And we formed two other divisions, the pre-PA consultants and the pre-dental consultants. And the PA one it's doing well. It hasn't taken off in the same way, but the pre-dental, there must have been just a huge need for for pre-dental students, because it's growing very rapidly. So
you'll probably shut down your pre-PA division at some point.
We'll see. No, I don't think so. Well, the thing is, I have like partners in it. So the two heads of the program, like they get like we kind of partner together. So it's like shared in the profits. And it's kind of like that relieves the burden for me. And so if they're doing well, I do well. And I kind of just will help manage and build all. I'm like, it seems like you've learned this very well with like sales funnels, marketing, like all that stuff that took me years to learn. At least they can kind of cut the line in terms of that.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Do you have any goals from where you're going to take MedGeeks? Anything that you're adding or?
Yeah. As of right now, no. I do want this. Like, I don't want this to be a kind of a small mom and pop. As quickly as we're growing, I'm hiring. Like, I really want I want this to be this huge enterprise. I want to, toyed around with the idea of getting it to the point where we could sell at some point. I do think that'd be interesting, which was one of the main reasons why. So back in the day, that's why I never put my name as the company name.
That's like one of the things for me that may prevent a sale at some point. We'd have to see. Is like the personal branding aspect to it.
100%. And that's also the reason I was super active back in the day, where it was my face on everything. And I took that away for the same reason. I wanted to see if this company could grow without me being there. And it has. And so, I stepped away. I was super active on social. I was doing all that, and I just backed off, and I didn't want to do it because, again, I'm still toying with the idea that I might want to sell at some point. And so the only way to do that is if I'm not directly attached. Otherwise, I'd have to sell, but then go with the company. And then
exactly. You'd have to be like contractually like.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to do that. If I sell, like, I don't know yet, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I think for like, I really like doing like the advising, and we're to the point where it's very scalable in terms of we have lots of coaches, and I'll do like a once a month group session and then the onboarding with students. But it's not like it needs to be me. Although from a branding perspective, my face is always there, like you were just saying. So that kind of, although I don't really know if I'll ever go that route, but if I do, I might have to steal a page out of your playbook and figure out what you did to kind of remove yourself from the branding or the PR of being the company. Yeah.
And you also realize too, like, it's the whole philosophy of, other people might not be able to do it as well, but you don't need them to do it as well as you do. Because they can hit 80%. Now you're scalable. Now you get 3 people that work at 80% of your capacity. Like, you can kind of grow versus Noah could do it as good as me. I got to do everything.
You need to, I mean, and I've been doing that in terms of like, we have other people doing sales calls or people doing the social media or the marketing and whatnot. We have coaches now that know, like, and that are very highly qualified to help these students. But it is hard as a business owner to
it's your
stop
baby.
doing. Yeah, exactly. Where are you you said you've been hired. What are you specifically hiring in? Is it like more coaches to help the students, or like the other behind the scenes operations?
A little bit of everything. We just hired our full. So right now I want everybody, I want the core admin group to be here. So I live in Torrance, which is, a city, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Um, so I want everybody to kind of be in the LA area, because although I tried the whole remote thing, and all of our coaches are remote that are doctors and PAs. But what I realized, and I always struggle. I'm like, why do people even need to go to offices? Like, there's no point. Everyone can work remotely. But I'll tell you this: there's something, and we only meet once a week on Mondays. But there is something to having the face-to-face interaction and just being in an office together, where it helps with culture, morale. If you're working, the time it takes for somebody to just turn around and ask a quick question versus having to go on Slack or shoot a text, and then
definitely,
it cuts that down dramatically. And we've been way more productive just kind of having everybody here. And so right now I'm trying to hire people that are just in LA. So we just hired a full-time, kind of a customer success agent in a sense.
I like that. Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about figuring out how to do.
Oh yeah. So her job is to, when someone books an appointment with us, to get on the phone with them, ask a few questions, confirm their appointment. And again, in the same way you try and get the parent on, we try and get a spouse or a family member on as well. Because again, we don't want to do a second call. And once we confirm the appointment, cool, salesperson does it. Again, we have our salespeople here. Right now, we got one full-time salesperson. We got my business partner, co-founder, who's kind of helped me from the get, who I want to kind of give some to. He does sales, and I'm actually teaching my fiance how to do sales as well.
That's funny. Yeah, I have your version of like the guy who helped you from the get. I have that person who helps me do sales. I had my brother helping me do sales. Like, keep it in the family.
Yeah. And so my fiance is actually, she quit. So she's a therapist, family marriage therapist. So she quit her job and she's going to start her own private practice. So in the intro, she's like, let me just learn and see everything you guys are doing. And she can kind of implement with her therapy practice. And so that was the last person we hired, and they all live here. So Monday all day, actually, we're here. And I mean, you could just tell the difference in just the productivity and the quality of work. Everyone's just happier because you get to talk and just shoot the shit, joke. And
these days, especially, it's nice to have somewhat of a social environment.
Yeah. And that too. Exactly. Yeah. Because one of the sales guys, that lives here now, he was actually living in Chicago before. And he voiced his concerns where he was just on the phone all day, taking phone calls. And he didn't feel part of.
It's tough. Yeah. It is tough. Like, especially sales, you're having basically the same conversation over and over and over and over again.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of, so we're growing a little bit of everything, kind of on all fronts. I don't do any of the coaching at all.
You're just the business mastermind.
That's it.
Interesting. Yeah. So you have doctors on payroll that are doing all the coaching.
Yeah.
Or NPs or PAs.
Yep.
Cool. How does that? They're just getting like for their time essentially.
Salaried. They're salaried at this point.
Oh, look at you.
Close. Yeah. And that was the other thing, right? So shit, man. So going from an independent contractor to salary comes with, it's more expensive.
Payroll and yeah.
Because then, and we do offer benefits for the full timers. So none of the clinicians, we are going to bring someone on actually full-time salary next year, but all the clinicians right now are independent contractors.
That's what I meant. The clinicians.
Yeah. The other people are salaried, but the clinicians, but yeah, they work a lot. They do we have one doctor who is pretty much full-time with us, but we still treat her as an independent contractor, but her pay is definitely like a salaried employee.
Right. That makes sense.
So, yeah.
Cool. Honestly, sounds like you're doing great things. And from what I've seen, like the more I've learned about businesses, you can only be successful if you're actually providing a value to the marketplace. So I imagine your students are seeing really great results. And can you talk a little bit about that? And then we'll close it out. Like, what the student experiences has been, the results that you guys have seen.
Yeah. So, I mean, the amount of people who have failed their boards come on with us and then pass, like, I can't even count that number. But and that's cool because that was kind of our foundation. But honestly, what's super interesting with me and the feedback we've been getting is the mentorship for family practice and the mentorship for emergency medicine clinicians that are actually out in practice. Because there's nothing, as far as to my knowledge, that exists where somebody can come in and actually ask questions regarding cases. The biggest problem we've seen is when they're in practice, yeah, they have attendings, yeah, they have colleagues, but it's not the attending or colleague's job to actually help. And if they do help, they'll give an answer, but then they got to go see their patients. They're not going to sit down with you.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's actually almost in the same way I've thought about this. If I ever went into private practice and wanted to start my own practice, let's say, I would want someone who's had 10, 20 plus years of experience above me. But it's hard, like, unless that's like your partner that really took on a mentor-mentee relationship. I was thinking like, I might just find the best person in whatever I end up doing and just be like, I will pay you as much as you want to just like when I need to run a case by you and things like that. Cause like, I feel like that's something that is ingrained in medicine is like mentorship, but to be able to really access it whenever you want and sit down for long periods of time. It sounds like that's what these clinicians are getting when they're out there in practice.
Yeah. So the feedback on that aspect has been great. It's I don't know. Like, I don't have words to quantify the confidence boost in these clinicians. They come out, and the other thing too is they come out thinking, especially as a PA, like you come out with 2 years of medicine, like you don't know, you can work primary care, but you don't know everything. And so the problem is they come out thinking they should know everything. And so their expectations aren't being met. And therefore they have this self-doubt. They lose confidence. Right. I'm not cut out for this. I shouldn't be doing this. When truth is, and I've been guilty, and you've been guilty, I'm sure, of this, is, you're over here comparing yourself after 2 years of school with the resident or with the attending who's been in practice for 20 years. Like, you're not going to be able to do the same shit as this person who's been practicing and has the experience of it about. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And you never know it all. Like, I don't care if you're an MD, a DO, or PR, like, you will never know everything. And for you to come out thinking that you're supposed to know everything is ridiculous. They have specialties. Even physicians who specialize in cardiology still go into a fellowship and only work on one little thing for the rest of their careers. Like, so for you to think that you're going to come out knowing everything about everything, they have these unrealistic expectations. And so a lot of the stuff we do too is mindset work, and just, hey, you're in the right spot and you're okay.
That's the first part of our program. Like the first 2 modules is like mindset. Cause it's like, it matters. As much as like, sometimes it seems fluffy, like some 100%. Of that stuff is very much needed.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Andrew, I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see where MedGeeks goes from here. It sounds like you're continuing to grow and providing a lot of value to clinicians and students out there. So congrats on all your success so far.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.